Are you ready to dive into the world of project management? Hit that subscribe button as we explore how to stay relevant in the agile workforce. On the previous video, we talked about planning project work. Now we're moving on to delivering that project work. So the delivery performance domain leads to effective execution, and it results in the following desired outcomes. So your projects will continue to contribute to business objectives and strategy advancement. Your projects will realize outcomes that they were intended to deliver, and the project benefits are realized in the time frame in which they were planned. And the project team has a clear understanding of these requirements, and stakeholders they accept and are satisfied project deliverables. We have a lot to cover today. We're talking about delivering that project work. This is one of the most important areas after you have planned that project work to deliver this project work. So we're first going to talk about delivery of value. Projects that use a development approach that supports releasing deliverables throughout the project lifecycle can start delivering value to the business, customer, or stakeholders during the project. Projects that deliver the most deliverables, or they deliver the deliverables at the end of the project or the project lifecycle, generate value after the initial deployment. And business value often contributes and can be captured after the initial project has ended. Initial business value doesn't have to be realized while the project is being executed. It could be years after the fact. The business case document, this is an essential document. This describes and often provides that justification from the business side for that anticipated business valuable or business value for the project. It also identifies detailed estimates on returns on investment, justification for lean startup, and it describes the high-level elements such as problem solutions, revenue streams, and also the cost structures. This is very important for initiating your project. A lot of times, this business case document is not something that is initiated by you, the project manager. Our business analysts are handling a lot of these roles and responsibilities. The project authorization documents attempt to quantify the project's desired outcomes to allow periodic measurement. And this may range from detailed baseline plans to high-level roadmaps that provide an overview of the project lifecycle and significant releases, in addition to the key deliverables, the review, and other top-level information. Deliverables is another topic area of importance with delivering your work. So deliverables enable outcomes, and they can be in the project's interim, or they can be part of the final product, service, or the results. This reflects the stakeholders' requirements, scope, quality, and long-term impacts of profit, people, and the planet. Requirements is another topic area of importance with delivering your project work. Ultimately, your requirements are the reason why you're here as a project manager. You're here to deliver those requirements. It is a condition or capability necessary to be present in a product, service, or result to satisfy a business need. And this can be high level, and this can also be found in the business case documents. And this can be very detailed, and they can also be found in acceptance criteria and also system components. Projects that have well-defined scopes, which is relatively stable, they generally work with project stakeholders to elicit and document requirements during the planning stage. Elicit means drawing out, to bring forth, to evoke. And you're going to do this through various different methods. You can have focus groups, which is bringing minds that are focused in certain topic areas to deliberate, to elicit, to collaborate, and draw out these requirements. You can also interview individuals with various different stakeholder magnitudes or complexities. You can analyze various forms of data. You can observe the processes. You can review defect logs, and there are other methods. This leads to clear, concise, verifiable, consistent, and traceable requirements. You also can evolve and discover your requirements. And these are common and iterative, more agile, more incremental, and adaptive approaches. You can see new opportunities that arise from change requirements. And then also, last but not least, you can manage these requirements. Because without these requirements, management can lead to rework. This is more of that predictive mindset. Scope creep, customer dissatisfaction, budget overrun, schedule delays, and often project failure. Many projects have one accountable person for requirements management. That can be a business analyst, product owner, value engineer, and the methods include individual of managing these requirements who specialize in this software, backlogs, and they use index cards and traceability matrices. We're going to talk about scope over the next topic areas. The scope definition is the work that is required to output the project deliverable. The scope decomposition, the scope can be elaborated through using a scope statement. And this statement can help identify the major deliverables associated with the project and the acceptance criteria for each deliverable. The scope can be elaborated through decomposition in lower levels of the work breakdown structure. The work breakdown structure is a hierarchical decomposition of the scope of the work, and it can be carried out through the project team to accomplish the project objectives and create those required deliverables. Another way to elaborate that scope is to identify the project's themes in an agile charter, roadmap, or as part of a product hierarchy. Themes represent large groups of customer value that has been re-elected as user stories with common factors such as functionality, data source, and security level. To accomplish these themes, the project team develops epics, which these epics are logical containers for large user stories too big to complete in just one iteration. Epics can be decomposed into those features and later into those requirements. Epics and features have multiple user stories. A user story is a brief description of an outcome for a specific user, which is a promise for a conversation to clarify the details. The project team defines the user story details as at the last responsible moment to avoid wasteful planning should there be any scope changes. The story clearly and concisely represents the requirement in a written form from the end user's perspective. We're going to talk about completion of these deliverables. We've been talking about decomposition of deliverables. Completion of these deliverables starts off with identifying acceptance criteria. This is the criteria required before the customer accepts the deliverable or before the project is considered complete. It has to be documented in the scope statement. Technical performance measures include, and they are also documented in separate documents, may be documented for an extension of that work breakdown structure. This may be also known as that WBS dictionary, which elaborates that information for each deliverable, which is that work package. The definition of done, or the DoD, is used in adaptive approaches. So remember that, particularly in software development projects, it is a checklist of all criteria required to be met so that a deliverable can be considered ready for customer use. Moving targets of completion. Project teams can track the planned rate of a project's goal of completion. The longer the project takes to complete, the further the project goal of being done is likely to move. Projects that operate in stable working environments often face scope creep. Scope creep is an additional scope or requirements that are accepted without adjusting the corresponding schedule, budget, or resource needs. The project team presents changes to the current project governance body. The product owner or the executive sponsor must provide that formal approval. So there are steps in place from a change management perspective to make sure that this scope creep does not affect and ruin your projects. Quality is another essential area with delivering your work. Quality focuses on the performance levels that are required to be met on your projects. The degree is set based off inherent characteristics to fulfill those requirements. They may be reflected in completion criteria, definition of done, statement of works, and requirements documentation. Much of the cost associated with quality is borne by the sponsor or the sponsoring organization, and it's reflected in the policies, procedures, and the work processes. Organizational policies are critical because they govern how work is performed and also the procedures that prescribe the work and how work processes are part of the organizational quality policy. Balancing the quality requires the needs of processes and products with the control and cost of meeting those requirements. We're going to talk about the cost of quality. When we talk about quality, one of the most important areas is cost of quality. Cost of quality is used to find the appropriate balance of investing and the quality. Cost of quality is used to find the appropriate balance for investing in quality prevention and appraisal to avoid defects or product failures. All costs incurred over the life of an investment in preventing non-conformance to the requirements, appraisal of product service for conformance, and to the requirements and the failure to meet those requirements. There are 4 categories in the costs associated with quality: prevention cost, internal failure, appraisal cost, and external failure. Prevention and appraisal costs, they're associated with the cost of compliance. And internal and external failure, these costs are associated with cost of non-compliance. To optimize delivery value, early inspection and review of work has to be focused on finding quality issues as soon as possible. We're going to talk a little bit more in detail about those 4 categories within the costs associated with the cost of quality. Prevention costs. These are costs that are incurred to keep defects and failures out of the product. These costs avoid quality products. These are associated with design, implementation, maintenance, and the quality management system. These are planned and incurred before the actual operation. Examples could include product or service agreements, quality planning, quality assurance, and training. Appraisal costs. These are incurred to determine the degree of conformance to quality requirements. These are associated with measuring and monitoring activities related to quality. It is also associated with evaluating purchased materials, process, products, and even services to ensure that they conform to the specifications. Examples include verification, quality audits, and supplier ratings. Internal failure. This is associated with finding and correcting defects before the customer receives that product. So remember, this is before they receive the product. Incurred with the work failed to reach design quality standards. So in this examples include waste, scrap, rework, and failure analysis. Remember, this is before the customer receives. External failure. These are associated with defects found after the customer has accepted the product with remediation. This occurs when a product or services fail to reach the design quality standards and are not detected until and after they've reached the customer. Examples include repairs, servicing, warranty claims, complaints, returns, and reputation loss. Cost of change. The later a defect is found, the more expensive it is to correct. Remember this when you are planning your projects and you're delivering your product. To counter the impacts of the cost of change and this curve, the project team designs project processes that build in quality. This can include quality analysis, working with designers and engineers to understand how they can achieve quality during each project lifecycle step. And the cost of change. This exists in every project. And effective project management can minimize the negative outcomes, such as the possibilities of uncertainty and attempting to produce unique deliverables. So once again, thank you for watching. Thank you for learning about how to deliver your projects according to the requirements. Once again, please like, share, and subscribe. Look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more project management content. See you on the next one.